Hi, this is Barry. I want to tell you about something that happened to me a long time ago. Don't know if you'll believe me or not, but that's up to you. I was about 15 or 16 years old, and I had an experience. I was up in the mountains with my high school band. I was 4 years in the high school band, and we had band camp every year. It was a week-long intensive training for newcomers as well as returning students to learn how to march, play your instruments, learn the songs, learn halftime show, because just as the football team for school had to learn how to play football during the off season and be ready with a game by the first week of school, so also the band, the marching band, had to learn how to do a halftime show as early as the first week of school. So we were off training and learning how to do that. It was a lot of fun, and you got to meet new people as well as returning students from the previous years. And so I was involved in that all 4 years. I played trumpet my first year, and then baritone horn after that, and finally at senior year I switched to drums because it looked more fun. So every year we had band camp, which was a week-long training, and during that time you did a lot of training, a lot of learning, a lot of intensive study, but there was also free time. And during that free time you could do a number of recreational activities. We were up at a Boy Scout camp called Mattaguai near Julian or Palomar Mountain, where, if you're familiar with Palomar Mountain, they have the observatory up there, and it's pretty well known, but it's beautiful up there. If you're from down here, I live in Southern California, not far from San Diego, and the mountain is a great place to get away. You could go to the beach, you could go to the desert, you go to the mountains, and you're in a whole other world when you're up there. So it's not like mountains like some people. Some people think only of mountains if they're really, really, really high mountains. Well, we don't have any really high mountains here, but we have our mountains. So I was up in the mountains. This particular experience happened to me during recreational time. Most of the other students were out doing, you could go canoeing, you could go swimming, you could go hiking, you could play volleyball or softball. There's a number of things you could be doing. But I had a good friend who brought a stereo system up with him, and I was in love with that. So when we had free time this particular time, I wanted to hang out with his stereo all alone. I was in this beautiful dorm room. It had bunk beds, and it was just a very comfortable, large dorm rooms in this particular camp that we were in at Mattaguai Scout Camp. And I wanted to spend time with this stereo. Nobody else was here. I was alone in this room, and I had not only my own albums that I brought with me for that week, but I had my friends' albums that were there. And so this was a chance to listen to some albums that I didn't already own. And listening to stereo back then was something I really enjoyed. That kind of experience is pretty much gone today with the way music is reproduced now on little tiny things this big and little headphones and whatever. But back then, a stereo was something you sat down or stood in front of and put a record on, and you looked at the album art, and you read the liner notes, and you listened to it, and you became part of it. And so that's what I was doing. I was in this room, and the stereo was set up on a little table, and the speakers were on either side, and I was putting various records on and just standing there and listening to them. And I'd get into it. I remember listening to The Who, a couple albums by The Who that I didn't own. One was Tommy, and I didn't sit and listen to that whole thing. I just put a little bit of it on, okay, try something else. I put Who's Next on. I listened to a bunch of that. And then I came across an album by Black Sabbath. And it's called Sabbath Bloody Sabbath. And go ahead and pause for a second.